Everybody, welcome to Bike Scoop, our weekly show on the latest bike products and trends. I'm your host Ross, and I'm joined by Tom this week to talk about e-bikes. If this is your first time tuning in, thanks for joining us. If you haven't done so already, be sure to click the like button in the corner of your screen. And if you aren't following us on Instagram already, be sure to do so at Performance Bike. And as always, if you have any questions during the show, feel free to type them in the comments box and we will try to answer them during the show. And if we can't get to them, we will answer them right after. But this week we've been talking about e-bikes through our blog post and through emails and other ways of getting at you. And we're going to be continuing that today. We're going to be talking a little about the history of e-bikes, the benefits they provide, different styles of products out there, and then cover a little bit of some of the controversies out there surrounding e-bikes. But there have been patents for e-bikes since the late 1800s. They've been around for quite a while, but they've really gained a ton of popularity in the European market in like the last 10 years. People are using them from anything from commuting to just all-out recreation, and we're starting to see a lot of traction building up in the US, and there have been a lot of different technology changes over the years, and also infrastructure changes in the US. So we've seen some really cool stuff happening, and e-bikes offer a ton of different benefits to a lot of different users, and Tom's going to cover some of those right now for us.
Yeah, hey guys. So e-bikes are awesome. I got to start there, that they are super duper fun. Over the past week or so, I've actually been riding these two, and I went and got some groceries and did a lot of different stuff on these bikes, and they're great. But one of the biggest benefits to an e-bike over a regular bicycle is that you can really ride a lot further and have a lot longer adventures than you could on a traditional bicycle, especially if you're a cyclist who's not really into the Lycra thing and not really like a super duper crazy cyclist, but you just want to get out there and still ride. There's a lot of great bike paths around here. We have the Tobacco Trail, Umstead Park is really fun, and there's just a lot of greenways everywhere. And you can really get out and explore a lot of these places without overtaxing yourself, and you can ride further. Some of the other big adventures, big advantages with e-bikes is that they're actually pretty simple. At the core of an e-bike, it's still just a bicycle. You pedal, it goes, you hit the brakes, it stops. It's really not much more complicated than that. All that an e-bike does is give you just a little bit more juice so you can ride further.
Yeah, definitely. I've noticed a lot of groups of people, and there's some advanced riders in the group, and then also some maybe newer riders that have, they're able to keep up on the same ride with some of their more advanced friends, and that's really, really cool to see. So right here I noticed we have three completely different e-bikes. We have two with a hub drive system, and then we have one over here with a mid-drive system. There are a lot of different options out there, and there's some big manufacturers that you might hear like Bosch or Shimano, Bafang, Brose, and some other systems. So Tom, why don't you walk us through these different styles and what each of these bikes might be used for and kind of the benefits of each.
Yeah, so it can be a little confusing when you're looking at e-bikes because there are different drive systems, and the different drive systems definitely have their benefits and their drawbacks as well. The mid-drive system is really the most robust system out there. It also can be a little bit more expensive, but your mid-drive, and what I mean by mid-drive is the motor is literally in the middle of the bicycle. So on this bicycle in particular, you have the batteries right here, and the motor is built directly into the crank right there. And that whole unit can actually come off and get serviced pretty easily. Our stores can take care of that for you if you ever need that. But the mid-drive gives you almost immediate power. And also, as soon as you hit the brakes or when you stop pedaling, it also immediately stops giving you power. So it really is a much more natural feedback and a natural feel when you're riding the bicycle. The mid-drive as well also engages into the gears on the back with directly in where the crank is. That's how that engages. This is the Fuji Traverse, which you can find at some of our stores. And it really is a very, very fun bike. This is more of a sport hybrid style bike. You'd use this for gravel or something like that. You could use it for commuting around town, that kind of thing. The hub drive systems, like the Sanibel right here and this Oyama folding bike, the motor is actually built into the back wheel here. So there's a motor in here, and on the folding bike here, the motor's actually here, hidden behind the cassette. You can get hub drives that are either rear hub drives, you can get front hub drives, and there's even a bike we were playing with over the last few months that has hub drives, so both wheels are driving the bicycle forward. One of the big advantages with the hub drives is that generally it's a little less expensive, but the controller system on it is a little bit more simple. And when you start pedaling, it won't necessarily engage as quickly, and it also doesn't stop giving you power as quickly at the other end. So it just takes a little bit more getting used to when you're riding it. But really, either way, they're super duper fun to ride, and you still get a lot of the benefits of riding on an electric bike. Just the mid-drive is a little bit more expensive, but just a little bit more intuitive feeling.
Mm-hmm. I know some people, might think these are really intimidating. Look at them, like I can't take care of this myself.
Yeah.
But in reality, there are a lot of standard bike parts on e-bikes, standard cranks, cassettes, wheels, tires, chains. Like, what are some of the typical wear and tear items on an e-bike, or typical maintenance you might have to perform?
Well, that's a great question, actually. And a lot of people don't even know about this when you just buy a bike in general. But I mean, obviously, you have to change tires and things, but there are other parts of the bike you do need to maintain on a semi-regular basis. Over time, you will wear your chain out. That's something that does wear out on any bicycle, regardless of what you have. Sometimes you have to service the bearings and stuff like that. The only thing on an e-bike that you need to consider that really is a consumable part of the e-bike it would be the battery. The batteries do not last forever. They're just a battery, just like any other battery you have in your life. So you charge the batteries usually just by plugging them into your wall. Pretty easy. You plug them in. They charge for these three bikes we have here. They take about anywhere between 5.5 to 7 hours to do from a fully dead battery to a full charge. And you unplug and you go. But the batteries would last, usually they're warranted for about 2 years, depending on the manufacturer. And that means after 2 years of heavy use, using them daily, all the time, you would go from a battery that can charge up to 100% capacity to a battery that only charges up to about 80% capacity, which is still really good.
Yeah, which is just like any other electronic device, like your cell phone.
Yeah, like your cell phone or your car. Your car, you have to replace your battery every once in a while too. That's pretty typical. And then these batteries, from all the e-bikes that we sell, we do have replacement batteries, or we will have replacement batteries, and you can just swap out the battery, and we can do that for you if you feel uncomfortable with that. It's really actually pretty easy. Like on this one here, you just stick a key in it and pull the battery out. And we can dispose of the battery properly for you and stick a new one in there.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have the Traverse right here, good mixed terrain bike, gravel trails, roads, a little bit of everything, light trail use. We have the Sanibel, which would be great for the boardwalk, street, path, sidewalks, anything. Then we have the folding bike over here, the Oyama, which would be a great commuter bike. It has a pretty low center of gravity. The battery's built into the frame.
It's actually in here.
Balances it pretty well. You can, when you fold the bike, you can actually remove the battery if you want. So what are some of the limitations that e-bike users might have when it comes to access on? I know there's a little bit of controversy, surrounding riding certain e-bikes on the roads or certain trail access. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so one of the e-bikes that we don't have here today, that I wish we did, because we're going to be getting some for the office, we're all very excited, is actually an electric mountain bike. And that's something that's really kind of coming into its own right now. We're seeing more and more of these e-bikes out at the trails. And one of the challenges with specifically an electric mountain bike is that you're not necessarily allowed to ride them on all the normal mountain bike trails you take a traditional mountain bike out on. So you'd have to check your local local laws, local laws, and talk to your local precinct to kind of see what's available, what you can, where you can ride and where you can't ride. But it's not unlike if you think about like hiking trails and mountain biking trails. You can't always ride a mountain bike on a hiking trail. Similar idea with an e-bike. You can't necessarily take an e-bike on all the mountain biking trails, but you still can get out into the woods and do a lot of stuff. And if you want to, get involved. Get involved with your local government and talk to people, and maybe you can change some of the rules on that. And we can make a lot more places a lot more e-bike friendly. But for the non-mountain bikers, most e-bikes you're allowed to ride just about anywhere you could take a car or take a regular bicycle. Now, once again, there are some specific rules in certain places. I know there are some cities that do have specific rules, and just check your local laws on that. But in most places, you can take an e-bike just about anywhere.
Yeah, and if you haven't ridden an e-bike, I'd recommend you just go to one of your local performance stores and try one. We have the Fuji Sanibel in our locations, and I guarantee you'll have a smile on your face after the end of a test ride.
They really are very fun. If you haven't ridden an e-bike, it is very different. You really need to get out there and try it. They're awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So that about wraps up Bike Scoop for us this week. A weekly segment where we talk about different bike trends and products and cool stuff we see come by our way. Be sure to tune in next week, and also be sure to keep an eye on our social media this week for a big announcement later this week. And we'll catch you next time.